He thought he was buying obedience. What he got was a lesson in grace that would change his life forever. That's how it began, and how it ended, for David Lorne, a man who believed money could buy him anything, including a wife who wouldn't question him, challenge him, or disturb the neat walls he had built around his heart. But grace, as he would learn, doesn't come with a price tag. And love? Real love demands something far greater. David was a man of few smiles and fewer words. A wealthy entrepreneur in his mid-40s, he had built his fortune through grit, risk, and relentless control. Control was everything to him. His business, his employees, even the temperature in his penthouse was measured down to the last degree. He'd never been married, and not because he wasn't asked. Women came and went, but they all wanted something: his time, his attention, his vulnerability. And those, David did not give. At some point, companionship became an itch he couldn't ignore anymore. But rather than open his heart, David opened his checkbook. A discreet agency offered what he considered a perfect solution: arranged marriage contracts with women from overseas, women who were humble, traditional, obedient. The agency promised no emotional entanglement, just domestic stability. David signed the papers and wired the payment like he was buying a luxury watch. It was transactional. Clean. And that's how May arrived. She was 30, delicate in appearance, with deep brown eyes that held more storms than David noticed at first glance. She spoke in soft English, bowed slightly when introduced, and wore silence like a cloak. David believed she was everything he had ordered. But May was not silent because she lacked thoughts. She was quiet because she was watching. The early days of their marriage were oddly sterile. David gave her a schedule, clear instructions, and a credit card. May followed everything to the letter. She cooked, cleaned, and kept her thoughts tucked away like laundry in drawers. But small things started to shift. She rearranged his office bookshelf, by theme rather than height. She left a note in his briefcase one morning that read, "Don't forget to smile, even in the boardroom." When David came home angry one evening, she offered tea with a whisper, "The wind cannot break what bends." He snapped at her. "Stop talking in riddles." She bowed her head. "Yes, Mr. Lorne." But there was no malice in her tone, only sorrow. That night, he couldn't sleep. The words kept looping in his mind. The wind cannot break what bends. 2 months in, David's mother passed away. It was sudden, a heart attack. He hadn't spoken to her in almost a year. May wore black, stood beside him at the funeral, and afterward prepared a silent meal with soft music in the background. David broke down at the dinner table. Tears he hadn't let fall since childhood leaked out in quiet sobs. "I shouldn't feel this much," he said, voice cracking. "I wasn't a good son." May walked around the table and gently knelt by his chair. Grief doesn't measure itself by deeds. It's love's echo, no matter how distant the voice. That night, she didn't sleep in the guest room. And that night, David didn't feel alone for the first time in years. Their relationship deepened, not through passion, but through presence. May never pushed, never demanded. But her stillness was magnetic. She'd sit by the window, painting in watercolors, scenes of mountains, lanterns, cherry blossoms, and David began to pause his day just to watch her create. She encouraged him to speak to his estranged brother, to apologize to a former business partner he had undercut years ago, to visit a children's hospital he once donated to anonymously. Each time, he resisted. Each time, she didn't argue. She simply reminded him, grace isn't weakness. It's strength clothed in compassion. Slowly, he began to change. One evening, May fell ill. A high fever, violent chills. David rushed her to the hospital. Hours passed in a sterile waiting room where he couldn't buy, negotiate, or fix anything. The control was gone. The doctor said it was pneumonia, serious, but treatable. Still, David refused to leave her side for the next 3 days. He fed her soup, wiped her forehead, whispered the proverbs she used to say. And when she opened her eyes, she smiled faintly and said, "Now you know how strong grace really is." When May recovered, David took her back to her favorite garden, a quiet hill with cherry blossoms. He held her hand in public for the first time. No gloves. No distance. "I didn't pay for a wife," he told her, voice trembling. "I bought a mirror, and found a teacher." May smiled. "You didn't buy me, David. You invited me. And I stayed because I saw the man you could become." Years passed. David retired early and began mentoring young entrepreneurs, not in business, but in life. He spoke about kindness, vulnerability, and above all, grace. People asked where he had learned all this wisdom. He always told them the same thing. "From a woman I thought I purchased, but who gifted me her heart instead." And that's how it ends, just like it began. He thought he was buying obedience. But what he received was a woman who taught him grace. And that grace changed everything.